Hey, it's Rebecca, and welcome to Returning, a podcast to return to yourself and the wisdom within. I'm so glad you're here with me. Thank you for returning. Oh, this feels like quite a big one. We are back with season 4. I've taken quite a break, actually. I've been deep writing. When I last left you, I said I was in the final edit stages of my 4th book. And in many ways, it kind of feels like my first book because it is a really big one. It's one I've been living with literally since 2017. I've changed so much over that period. If you're in the sanctuary or the mystery school or in my inner circle, you know. It's been a challenging period. It's been a challenging period for the world. I know I'm not the only one who's gone through such deep changes. But for me, it really did begin around 2016, 2017. And the book that literally went to print yesterday. I'm recording this the day after it's gone to print. Oh my God. And the book, by the way, is called Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. How to be held by life when it feels like everything is falling apart. The book begins with this mystical experience that I had in 2017, which hurtled me into my body, into the center of the earth, the waters of the earth. I call it the descent, Great Mother Awakening. I entered this spontaneous trance-like state, and I haven't spoken too much about it. I didn't speak too much about it when it happened. It actually took me a long time to even find the words to describe the experience. And when I look back now, I've just begun sharing properly from a really embodied state, but it's taken me all that time, I see now, to kind of stabilize the energy in my system. This experience I call Great Mother Awakening or Descent, Dark Nights of the Soul. There's so many different ways to express what it is. Poetry often is the best, but this experience really has changed me right down to my core. And I think that when we are changing, it is particularly in our lives, and particularly if you are someone who is visible in the world, like as in like you have a visible presence in the world, whether that's through work or just general social media. And especially if you resonate as a type 4 on the Enneagram like me, authenticity is so important. It's so important to me. And over this period, I found it really challenging to kind of express what I've been going through, what I've been learning, how I've changed, what's been transforming within me, what's been falling away within me. Because I think when we are changing, we're so deeply in that change that we know that we are not who we once were, but we're also not who we're becoming. We're in this in-between stage. And I think this is this stage of being in the in-between is where the transformation happens. If we get comfortable with being in the in-between, this is alchemy. This is transformation. This is to truly be reborn. And yet, I think so many of us find it so uncomfortable to be in that place, which makes sense. And particularly in our society where there is just so much emphasis on spring and summer, and autumn and winter, and those phases of life as well, particularly for a woman, they're kind of pushed to the side and they make us uncomfortable. And so during this period, I found it really hard to find ways to show up authentically, and be able to find the words to describe what was true for me. It's one of the reasons why I started this podcast, actually, because, particularly in the climate that we live in now and the extreme things we're facing as a species, from genocide to ecocide to just all the division that exists, and particularly on social media, the utter lack of nuance and kind of deep respect of of our humanness without dehumanizing each other. I found it really hard to show up in a way that felt really true to me, and didn't also feel like I was just kind of churning things out, And I think that as we are changing, and we're always changing, this is what healing is, by the way, I realize. And I know there's always deepening layers of it, but I remember when it dawned on me, the question of like, what is healing? Because there's particularly in the well-being, new age kind of thing, it's like there's so much focus on healing, like as in this finite state of reaching this state and staying at this state, this peak state. But when you look to nature, you realize it's always changing. It's never stagnant. The rose is never just in the full bloom state. And I think we'd see the full bloom as like the healed perfection state, harmony, stay there. But the rose can't stay there. And so this has been really what I've been going through these past 7 or so years. And I've been writing my way through it. And as I've been stabilizing the energy from that mystical experience, and as the world's been changing and I've been changing, I became a mother twice. So pregnancy, literally labor, birth, postpartum. I lost a baby as well, went through heartbreaks and friendships ending, and just watching so much of the pain that exists on the planet, like I know so many of us have, and have been trying to invite myself to keep my heart open through it all. One of the big threads that I have been doing as well is deep, deep ancestral healing work, deep, deep nervous system work. Oh my gosh, nervous system healing is the thing I am most proud of. It is the thing that has single-handedly changed my life the most. All of this to say, I've been busy writing for a very long time, and it feels like this period that I have been through is coming to a close, and I'm feeling like I'm finally ready to begin sharing from a place of like not just living through it, but kind of embodying it in a way. This period has humbled me so much, and yeah. So the book has gone to print. I can't quite believe it, and I'm ready to begin sharing it with the world. It's out October 28th. It looks different. The cover is black. It's like this black material. I had wanted like a gold on the cover, but literally the day before it went to print, something went wrong and we weren't able to do it. So we've got this kind of, it's like a peachy color for the title. And yeah, I've got some beautiful typography through it. I want to read you the blurb of the book. This is a book about rebirth, which means it's also about death, for rebirth isn't possible without it. This is a book about healing, which means it's also about feeling, for healing isn't possible without it. This is a book about finding yourself, which means it's also about losing yourself, for finding yourself isn't possible without it. This is a book about new beginnings, which means it's also about endings, for new beginnings aren't possible without them. So the book is really poetic. There is beautiful typography through it, a lot of black as well, representing the descent, the dark nights of the soul, the great mystery, the womb that we all come from. People think the darkness is the end, but it's also the beginning. And if we are courageous enough to embrace what scares us, embrace the shadow, embrace the endings, then we can properly be reborn. We can, as the shamans would say, I learned in my shamanic training, this concept of dying while still fully living. So it's like surrendering who we thought we once were in order to bloom again. Deep breath in. There are 3 different sections to the book. The first one is the end is also the beginning, navigating life's initiatory gateways and darkest nights. And then we have our second section, which is you're going somewhere sacred, understanding that change is part of life and that healing is always happening. And then the third section is the way of the mystic, reconnecting to the spirit of life and walking your sacred path. So as with all my books, it really is an invitation to open the door to connect in with the wisdom within. My intention in writing the book was really writing through those periods of being in the in-between, of properly surrendering who we once were, like loosening our grip on what we knew for certain in order to surrender into the great mystery of ourselves, to return to our bodies, to return to the earth, to return to each other. And it really is an invitation for us all to, as my friend Megan Watterson so beautifully says, I love how she phrases this. She says, so we can stand eye to eye with each other. Anyone that we raise above us, we need to cut down in order to rise ourselves. And if we put ourselves below someone else, the same thing has to happen. And so we've been so severed from seeing the sacred here on earth, all around us, below us, and within us, thinking that we got kicked out of the garden as if like the earth itself isn't sacred. And these wisdom teachings not necessarily being passed down through the ages to us. I believe that we are all hungry for that connection, that reconnection to, I would say, the earth as mother, to each other. And so my prayer with this book is that it really meets you where you are. And whether you're going through a period of like big change, or just going through a period where just one part of you is changing, we're always changing. Yeah, my prayer is really that it gives you the courage to trust that natural process, which is always happening. The book opens actually with, it says, people think the darkness is the end, but it's also the beginning. Has your soul been scheduled to go deeper than before? And so that's really what this book is. It's here when your soul's been scheduled to go deeper than before, knowing that you have everything within you to guide you through that transformation. And my wish is that this book is a companion for you. It's not the one leading you through, because you are that. Within you, you have access to the golden thread of your life, to your own inner wisdom. I just hope that the book is there to make anyone who is going through a period of transformation and change feel a little less alone and a little more held as we all navigate these changing seasons of our life, inner and outer, and then also as a species. The book is out October 28th, and I'm offering a workshop for anyone who pre-orders before then. It's going to be a 3-hour ceremonial event, and so you'll get free access to that if you pre-order before the 28th of October. Just head to rebeccacampbell.me/your soul had a dream. Oh, feels so big that this is coming. I feel slightly nervous, but mostly I basically just feel relieved that it's here, because I feel like when you go through big periods like this, they're really hard to put to words. And poetry, and there's a lot of poetry in the book, is one of the greatest gateways for the soul to do so. It's definitely a gateway for the soul for me anyway. I think poetry and music, art, They invite our soul to come more fully in than before. And through one person expressing what's true for them, that truth, that authenticity just resonates within us. It harmonizes within us. And I'm looking forward to doing more podcast episodes again. I really did need to take that break as I did that final push to really let the book be what it wanted to be. For one of the first times ever, I feel like I'm ready to share it. Sharing my soul's voice has never been a straightforward thing for me, but I think I'm ready. And so if anyone's got a podcast and wants to have a conversation, I am open. Just email my team, hello@RebeccaCampbell.me. I'm also just really looking forward to gathering in person or online, but doing more ceremonial events together. I've just gotten back from the Omega Institute. I did the Rise Sister Rise retreat, and we did a Healing the Motherline ceremony, a 3-hour ceremony, which was absolutely life-changing for all of us in the room. And I'm really feeling that shift within me, as a teacher, particularly starting out. And, I see myself more as an artist or a medicine person, I guess. I never can find the words to fully describe what it is that, that I'm doing. But it does feel like a whole, my path really is the path of the mystic, which is to live through experience, to experience directly, to go intimate with the divine. My friend Kyle often says, have you ever tried to ask your guides to make it less physical? But for me, it really is an experiential experience. I learn from the mind, of course, but it's through direct experience with the sacred that transforms me the most. And I'm realizing that part of my calling is to hold sacred containers for people to have a direct experience with the sacred themselves. I think this is the most transformational work that we can do because it's energetic, it's felt, it's cellular. It can change us so deeply. And so it's less about all the information and more about probably courageously embodying the transformation. And also realizing that transformation doesn't always have to be this big thing. It can be slow and subtle and still. It can be regulating your nervous system so you're not running all around busying yourself or feeling like there's always something else to heal. So it does feel like end of an era and beginning of an era, and almost like an embodiment of several eras for me. I'm kind of feeling very humbled and just ready to explore what this next chapter has to offer. I'm really grateful for you listening and curious to see how you find the book when you find it, if you find it. If you would like to check it out, it is called Your Soul Had a Dream, Your Life Is It. How to be held by life when it feels like everything is falling apart. Oh my gosh, I had so many different names for this book. My publisher wanted to go with that one in the end. I mean, it's a great title. I think it's a really great title. But yeah, some of the titles I had was like The Descent, or Great Mother Awakening, Fall Into My Arms, The End is the Beginning, Dark Nights of the Soul. Oh, so many. But they all made their way into the book in some way or another. This is the book, and the book ends actually because there is really this big theme about endings and beginnings and how nothing can fully begin unless we let it fully end. And right at the end it says the final page. I've always wanted to do this. The end. And then you turn and it says also the beginning. I love that. All right. So that is all for me. The book's out October 28th. Thank you so much for listening. Just in general to the podcast, I really, really appreciate it. If you're on YouTube, please hit subscribe or share. And if you're on another podcast platform, same thing, subscribe or share or leave a review. It really does help. And if you'd like to check out the book, you can head to RebeccaCampbell.me /your soul had a dream. Today's soul inquiry journaling prompt is, how am I changing right now? How am I changing right now? And then, how am I being called to embrace that change today? How am I being called to embrace that change today?